In late 2022, something dropped that felt like it was pulled straight out of a science fiction movie. It was a new piece of tech that almost literally overnight grabbed the world's attention and completely changed our relationship with artificial intelligence. We are, of course, talking about ChatGPT.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll kick things off with its absolutely explosive arrival. Then, we're going to peek inside the black box to see how this thing actually thinks. We'll cover its crazy expanding powers, but also look at its biggest problems, see the real-world impact it's already having, and wrap up with the high-stakes race for what comes next.
All right, let's dive right in. And to really get this, you first have to understand the sheer scale and, frankly, the unbelievable speed of ChatGPT's launch. It was unlike anything the tech world had ever seen before. 100 million users. Think about that number for a second. It hit that milestone in just 2 months. That made it the fastest growing consumer app in history. I mean, the adoption rate was just completely off the charts. And a huge reason for that insane growth? The reviews were just glowing. The New York Times called it the best AI chatbot ever released. And that sentiment just echoed everywhere as people started sharing their own mind-blowing conversations with it.
And this chart right here really puts its impact into perspective. The demand was so intense that its website basically shot up into the top 5 most visited sites on the entire planet. It put it right up there with the absolute giants of the internet.
So, what's actually under the hood? What's the engine driving this whole phenomenon? How can a machine create text that feels so human? Okay, so at its heart, ChatGPT is a generative pre-trained transformer, or GPT. Let's make that simple. Imagine a student who's been forced to read a giant library. We're talking a massive chunk of the entire internet. Now, by reading all that, it wasn't just memorizing facts. It was learning the patterns of our language, things like grammar, context, how ideas connect. And all that pre-training makes it incredibly good at just one thing, predicting the most likely next word in a sentence.
But here's the thing, just being a good word predictor doesn't make you a helpful assistant. That's where this next part comes in, reinforcement learning from human feedback. This is basically a 3-step training camp. First, human teachers showed the AI what a good answer looks like. Then, they ranked its different responses to create what's called a reward model. And finally, the AI was trained to basically chase those rewards, to learn how to give answers that humans find more helpful and safe.
And this brings us to a really critical and sometimes controversial piece of the puzzle, the human element. This isn't just about algorithms running wild. You have human trainers actively shaping the model. Even user feedback, the upvotes and downvotes, helps it learn. And to build its safety features, part of the process actually involved using outsourced workers in Kenya to label really toxic and disturbing content, which is a tough but necessary step to teach the AI what it absolutely has to avoid.
So, once you have this really complex, human-guided model, what can it actually do? Well, this is where we get to its incredible powers and features, which go way, way beyond just a simple chatbot.
Right out of the gate, it just stunned everybody with its ridiculous range of skills. It could write and fix computer code, compose poems and movie scripts, translate languages, and even simulate an entire computer system, all just through text.
But it wasn't going to stay a text-only tool for long. OpenAI started expanding its powers like crazy, basically giving it senses by connecting it to the live internet for fresh info, letting it create images just from a description, and allowing it to talk to other apps. And this is where the vision starts to get really ambitious, moving toward creating an AI agent. That's a system that doesn't just answer you, it actually takes action for you. Things like Operator and Atlas were designed to do tasks right in your web browser. Think ordering your lunch, booking a flight, or even helping you write and test complex software. But, and this is a really big but, all this incredible power comes with some very real and very well-documented problems. This machine is far from perfect.
So probably the single biggest issue is something called hallucination. And that's just a fancy way of saying, well, it makes stuff up. It generates answers that sound completely plausible, but are totally wrong. A perfect and kind of disastrous example happened in a real court case where lawyers used it to find legal precedents. The AI just straight up invented several fake court cases out of thin air, which, as you can imagine, got the lawyers into some serious trouble with the judge.
There's a brilliant analogy for why this happens from the writer Ted Chiang. He says to think of ChatGPT not as a perfect database, but as a blurry JPEG of the web. It's an approximation. And just like a blurry, compressed image has weird artifacts and missing pieces,
ChatGPT has these hallucinations.
And it doesn't stop with making things up. The system has other deep flaws. Clever users can jailbreak it with tricky prompts to get around its safety rules. And since it was trained on the internet, well, it can sometimes reflect the internet's own biases and skewed perspectives. And on top of all that, it's had security problems, like a bug back in 2023 that actually leaked some user data.
And yet, even with all these serious flaws, ChatGPT is already getting plugged into our society in some pretty fascinating and sometimes, honestly, chaotic ways.
I mean, just take the legal field. It's like the Wild West right now. We've seen a judge in Pakistan use it to help with research for a bail hearing. We have the now famous case of the sanctioned lawyers. And get this, a city council in Brazil unknowingly passed a law that was written from start to finish by the AI.
Then you have the art world, where the reaction has been just as visceral. The musician Nick Cave was asked what he thought about a song written by ChatGPT in his style. He did not mince words. He called it bullshit, a grotesque mockery of what it means to be human and creative.
Now, the shocking success of ChatGPT didn't just create headlines, it basically set off a bomb in the tech industry, triggering a frantic, high-stakes competition for what's next. I mean, just look at this timeline. The speed of development has been absolutely breathtaking. What used to take years to develop is now happening in just a few months. We went from the first public model to GPT-4, then to the Omni model that can see and hear, and onto models with advanced reasoning, all in an incredibly short amount of time. And this crazy pace lit a fire under everyone else, kicking off what Time magazine called the AI arms race. It sent a code red alarm ringing through Google, who saw this as a direct threat to their search business, and it forced them to rush out their own AI to compete.
So all of this, the incredible speed, the immense power, the profound flaws, it leaves us with a really big question we have to grapple with. As these tools get woven more and more deeply into our lives, what does